guess we'll just be a line on the wall.
All right. Well, welcome, folks, remotely and in person, to our first discussion about disposal capacity of the future. For those not in the room, it's pretty warm in here. I might close the door though, just so I don't interfere with the rest of the office.
And for everyone online, if you could in the chat, just tell us your name, your affiliation, and your email so we can make sure that you are on our contact list.
Great. I'm Josh Kelly, Solid Waste Program Manager, State of Vermont, DEC, and we have some speakers lined up for you today, and then a bit of time for public comment discussion after. We have people, it's a hybrid meeting, we have people online, and thank you for muting yourselves. And then we have people in the room, and hopefully we have enough chairs. It seems like we do. Welcome, folks. And we are going to record this meeting. Shannon, have you already done that?
Yes.
Okay. Just let me do some introductions of staff from the solid waste program. We have Shannon Choquette, who's helping me with the sort of meeting logistics behind the scenes. And then Dennis Feckert is here from the certification section. And Ann Bajor is also, I see Ann right there, our materials management supervisor. And then we have some other staff from the program here as well, just listening in. And some other DECers I see too, in the people box. We'll keep letting people in, but I don't want to take too long to get us started, so I will jump in. Just some housekeeping. There is a sign-in sheet going around so that we can know your name, your affiliation, and your email, so that we can notify you of other meetings that happen, any meeting notes, just kind of keep in touch with you. That's the goal of the sign-in sheet. And for those online, put your name, your affiliation, and your email in the chat, and we can make sure we're keeping you up to date on things happening with this discussion. So let me just see if I have covered all my bases. We are recording this, and we will post it on the webpage we've set up for future disposal capacity. And the purpose for today is the agency, the solid waste program within the Agency of Natural Resources, DEC, is hosting a series of public meetings to discuss the state's future solid waste disposal needs. And the goal for us is to hear from various waste disposal experts and participants, and to produce a short report for the legislature. So I'm hoping that by the time we get to December, we've got enough information to do something. This is not, to be clear, this is not a legislatively required activity. We're doing this proactively as part of our state materials management plan. We've committed to doing this process. And if it takes a little bit longer, I'd rather have a quality report than just dump something that's not helpful and not informative. So we may decide that coming up in December, we want to have some more meetings, and I think that's perfectly fine, especially if there's some real interesting people to hear from as part of this dialogue. But I just want to be clear that we're talking about waste disposal and finding a place for future waste disposal, solid waste in this context, and opportunities and the challenges that may come with that. There's a lot of things to discuss. Welcome. Have a seat anywhere, Jeff. Okay. So I'm going to ask Shannon if she'll put today's meeting agenda in the chat for people to just refer to. It's a pretty basic agenda. We have some great speakers here today to sort of kick things off. And then at the end, as I said, we have time for public comment. Someone asked us already about public comment, and we can take your input, your thoughts offline through emails to Shannon Choquette at vermont.gov. Shannon can put her email in the chat for all of you. This is not a process where we were going to generate responsiveness summaries or things that usually go along with rulemaking or permits or certifications. This is really about us getting knowledge about the ideas of where waste disposal may come from, And also your ideas about future speakers for meetings and meeting topics. So that's the things I would think people would send in comments about, in case we missed something. So anyway, with that, today to kick things off, we have New England Waste Services of Vermont and Casella with us here today, Kim Crosby and Shelley Sayward, to talk a little bit about the landfill that we have. We have one landfill in the state that is operating currently, takes about 80 to 85% of Vermont's waste there. And we're talking about what's left with that capacity. I also want to just note for folks, we have John Fisher, Mass DEP Deputy Division Director for Solid Waste with us. Massachusetts is a smaller geographic state, obviously, but much more populated and much more industry there. He can talk about some of the challenges and opportunities Massachusetts faced and is facing. And then our own Dennis Feckert are here. Stephen Young's virtual today. We'll talk about some of the floods Vermont has seen and the disaster debris that was produced from that and where that went and the benefit of in-state disposal during that time. Then we'll go to public comment and then we'll have closing and go from there. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Casella to speak and let's see how, are you guys in the meeting or we can share your PowerPoint?
I am in the meeting and
Okay.
I will attempt to.
I think you should be able to share screens, share your slides.
Yes, I'm sharing.
There you are.
There it is.
And John Malter, I can see you on camera. Just give us a wave if you're seeing Shelley's slides. All right. And then John, one last request. Give us a thumbs up if the audio is okay or if I'm yelling. He's like, you're yelling a lot. Okay. All right. Yeah, Shelley, take it away.
Terrific. Thank you so much for including us in the discussion today. Josh, we really appreciate it. I'm Shelley Sayward. I'm counsel for Casella Waste. And as Josh mentioned, with me today is Kim Crosby, who manages all sorts of things for Casella and is our director of compliance. I guess it does make sense for us to kick this off since we do currently own and operate the only landfill in the state of Vermont. So we thought it might be helpful to just, it says I'm sharing, but it's not actually
Moving
my
If
slide.
you use your arrows, does it work or no?
It's moving on my screen, but not there. So let me stop sharing and try this again.
I have seen some of these issues before.
Yeah.
Share, and if not, you guys can help us out. All right, so I'm sharing.
Mhm.
You might have to send it to you. You already have it, don't you?
We
Josh?
already have
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it says I'm sharing a window and I'm part of the meeting, so I'm not.
Shannon, you able to share that PowerPoint?
Yes.
I can join and share as well if need be.
Josh, I have it open too.
Okay, thanks, Ann.
Well, it wouldn't be a meeting if there weren't some
Technical difficulties.
Yeah,
Yeah, Anne, did you try to share?
give it a shot, Ann.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay.
I will stop sharing. Perhaps I'm creating some of the issues.
Maybe close the chat.
I
Can you
don't
see
know.
it? Oh,
Yeah, we can see it. I'm not sure how I can close the
Let's see
chat.
if I
from-
can go into presentation mode.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Can you see
Mute.
Mute.
Yeah, Ann, Henry, we need to mute Henry, Shannon. Perfect. Thanks, Henry. It's weird how stuff does that with things. Okay.
All right, and if you could.
All right, Mr. Coe, got to keep yourself muted. I keep trying, but it undoes it for whatever reason.
And if you would advance to the next slide, please.
Oh, Henry.
Yeah, Mr. Coe, you need to keep yourself on mute, please.
All right, we thought it made sense to kick off with a timeline. So Casella purchased the facility back in 1995, hard to believe it was 30 years ago. The initial tonnage was at 270,000 tons a year. And in 2005, that was increased to 370,000 tons a year. In 2005, we also worked with Washington Electric Co-op, and that is when the landfill gas to energy facility was brought online. And clearly it is still there and operating today, and we have an excellent working relationship with them. One hallmark event, Hurricane Irene, I'm sure we all remember that well. There was some emergency authorization that was granted for additional waste acceptance. And Josh, you noted that Dennis is going to focus a little bit on the importance of having in-state disposal for waste. And that was certainly the case back in 2011. And again, with some of the more recent storms that we've seen. Another hallmark event in 2013, the only other operating landfill in the state at the time, the Moortown landfill closed, leaving just the News Vermont facility in Coventry. So with those two events, Casella moved forward with increasing the landfill capacity at the site from 370,000 tons a year to 600,000 tons per year in an effort to make certain that there was ample disposal capacity for all Vermonters. In 2014, that permit application was processed to add 13.7 million cubic yards of capacity. And in 2018, that solid waste certification was received. That is the phase 6 portion of the News Vermont landfill. And another important permitting event in 2023, Casella's pretreatment discharge permit was renewed. And as part of that permit, there was a mandate that a PFAS treatment pilot be initiated for leachate out of our, to extract PFAS from our leachate prior to going to a wastewater treatment plant. And next slide, please. Thank you. So the types of waste that we're currently accepting at the facility, clearly municipal solid waste and construction and demolition debris. For C&D, that is only those items that are not subject to Act 175 that went into effect in January of 2015. E-waste, hazardous waste, and universal waste are not accepted, nor are recyclable materials or food waste. There are definitely certain types of special wastes that we receive at the facility. They are all approved by the Agency of Natural Resources in writing. They could include things like soil, wastewater treatment plant sludge, and non-hazardous industrial wastes. Some of those wastes could receive what's called a beneficial use determination that allows them to be used as cover soil at the facility, and they may be generated out of state in certain circumstances. And we estimate that our facility receives approximately 80 to 85% of the state of Vermont's waste. Thank you. And next slide, please. This just gives you an idea of the amount of solid waste that has been received at News Vermont over the last 5 years. You may recall from the first slide that the current permit allows for 600,000 tons per year. So this gives you a sense of the run rate of materials that are coming into the facility. And I think we're on target in 2025 to be probably in between the 23 and 24 amounts, Kim.
Yeah.
That sounds correct.
Maybe a little less, yeah.
Yeah, so not bumping up to that 600,000 tons a year where solid waste is concerned at this point.
Shelley, just one thing before you move on. People talk about MSW, municipal solid waste. Many people here are familiar with that term. It's sort of a wonky term. It's general trash.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I think it's around 3 to 4. It's usually under 400 tons of that 5. It's right up there though. So just for context, I think it's around 3 to 400,000 tons of that is traditional MSW. Actually, a little bit more than that.
Versus some of the other materials.
versus
like
some of the other
D&D.
materials, like-
Construction
yeah,
and demolition.
like the
Yeah,
special
exactly.
waste you were talking
And special
about.
waste.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Just for context.
an important point. Thank you, Josh. Thank you. And Anne, next slide, please. So Casella has 9 landfills that we actively operate throughout the Northeast. And we are talking about disposal capacity quite frequently internally. And here are a handful of considerations that we think might be interesting topics for future meetings, Josh. And again, just things that Casella continues to focus on. So greenfield projects are not easily cited or permitted. So the concept of opening a greenfield landfill in Vermont would have major challenges, right? Same with incinerators. They are not all that popular. There are some states in New England that have them at the top of their waste hierarchy, such as Maine. That is because they have a long history of incineration, I believe, and landfilling is not as popular. Other New England states, Massachusetts, Connecticut, are exporting waste via truck and rail. Connecticut at this point, I believe, is exporting more waste than they're taking care of themselves in state. When we say exporting by rail or truck, those materials are typically going to Ohio, perhaps Pennsylvania, and into the South, South Carolina, Virginia, are other target areas that are receiving waste from New England currently. We always recommend removing additional materials from the waste stream, right? And Vermont has been very proactive in their approach around recyclables management, food waste, C&D materials, in order to reserve and preserve that future landfill capacity. But we do believe that there is going to be a continued long-term need for landfills as part of our infrastructure in the Northeast. Casella we are definitely proponents of EPR for hard to manage recyclables, things like mattresses, solar panels. We actually have a mattress recycling facility in Connecticut that recycles close to 1,000 mattresses a day, which is really pretty astonishing and very cool. So those are not materials that we want to be taking at Waste USA. They're when you can recycle up to 90% of materials, such as mattresses, that's what we should be doing. And research and development programs to manage waste in different ways. So for instance, conversion of waste to fuel. There are many companies that are looking at unique ways to manage waste, but they've not yet reached commercial scale. So there are pilots, and again, that's something that should be thoroughly considered in the future as we focus on loss of disposal capacity. And Josh, that's all we had prepared for today. Just sort of a
Great.
preemptive
Thank you.
Yeah,
discussion.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to reserve questions for the public comment period if people have them. I just want to make sure we get through our presenters today. But so save your questions up, and thanks, Casella, for being here and giving us a window into where we're at. All right. Next up, John Fisher with Mass DEP. John, if you're able to share your slides, let's try it out and see how that goes. Okay, we can see him.
Okay, great. And can I advance?
Yeah, Henry, we need you to keep on mute. Just some reason, whenever you come off mute, there's a background. I don't know why it does that, but thanks, Shannon, for keeping on. All right, go ahead, John.
And Josh, just to confirm, can you see my first slide here, Solid Waste Master Plan?
We can.
Super. Okay. Great. Well, thanks for having me this morning. I'll be giving a quick overview of solid waste management in Massachusetts, and I'll talk a little bit about our solid waste master plan. I'll talk about our most recent data right now. That's 2023. I'm working on trying to finalize 2024 data over the next month or so, but right now 2023 is what we've got. And then I'll talk about our solid waste management capacity picture in Massachusetts. And then I'll pivot to talk about what we're doing to try to reduce our solid waste disposal, which we think is really perhaps the best way that we can affect management capacity need for our waste. So Massachusetts Solid Waste Master Plan, our current plan is a 10-year plan. It runs from 2021 through 2030. This provides our big picture program and policy framework for how we're going to strive to manage solid waste in Massachusetts. We do have a focus on waste management capacity in the solid waste master plan. And as part of that, we have what we believe are aggressive waste reduction goals. We're working from a 2018 baseline of 5.7 million tons and working to try to get that down to 4 million tons by 2030. We are at the midway point of our 10-year plan right now, and we're going through a kind of assessment of what we've been doing, what's working well, what's not working so well, maybe what do we need to do more of, how can we best use our resources and staffing, are there additional regulatory or policy initiatives we need to be pursuing to try to improve our efforts to divert waste from disposal. So we have a lot of discussions along those lines going on right now, and we're working to develop some recommendations for any course adjustments by the end of the calendar year. So it's a really dynamic time for us with our solid waste master plan and our program and policy framework. I'm going to go through several slides here that are going to be a little bit dense to show on the screen here, but I did share my presentation with Josh, so folks can have the opportunity to look at this more afterwards. But I'll just be focusing on distilling what I think is the gist of each of these data slides. So I'm not going to go through all the data, but just highlight the key points. So this table here shows a couple things. Looking at the second through fourth rows of the table, we show our total solid waste disposal, and then we show two subcomponents of that, our municipal solid waste disposal, which already came up a minute ago. That's our essentially our regular trash from households and businesses. And then our non-municipal solid waste disposal, which is mostly construction and demolition materials, but can also include things like contaminated soils and wastewater sludge, if and only if it's going for solid waste disposal. So this doesn't include things like landfill cover material, and it also doesn't include any material that's getting diverted from disposal, like recycling, composting, or anaerobic digestion. So what you can see on the left-hand slide is our baseline year for the Solid Waste Master Plan, 2018. And there we're at about 5.7 million tons of total waste disposal. And as you can see, it's been going slightly up since then. As of 2023, we're at about 6.2 million tons, which represents a 9% increase from 2018. So not what we would like to see. The municipal solid waste component of that, a little bit smaller increase, and then a significant bump up in the non-municipal solid waste disposal. I will just do a caveat that there's a little bit of gray area between how municipal solid waste and non-municipal solid waste are categorized at facilities. So, that can swing back a little bit, back and forth sometimes. We do our best to try to make it as accurate as possible. The other thing that we put on this table, and I think it's important, is the GDP, that's gross domestic product by state on a calendar year basis. And the reason that's important is that all things being equal, give or take, waste generation tends to grow and shrink in line with the economy. Not perfectly, not exactly, but generally speaking, directionally, that's a common trend. And what we've seen is continued growth in our gross domestic product by state in the growth of Massachusetts economy during this period, which tends to drive waste generation upwards. So that's not necessarily an explanation for this data or a full explanation, but we feel it's a factor, and it does tend to cause increases in waste generation and waste disposal as consumption rises. So when we presented our data, we tend to present it along with the gross domestic product, just showing how those trends are similar or different over time. Now I'm going to jump to import-export data. Casella referenced import and export. So what this means is just waste from Massachusetts that's either going to another state, a facility in another state for disposal, that's our export, or waste that's coming from another state into Massachusetts for disposal. That's import. So as already was mentioned, Massachusetts is a significant net exporter of solid waste for disposal. You can see the numbers here for 2022 and 2023. And it's divided again into this MSW and non-MSW split. The MSW export and import on the left, the non-MSW import and export on the right. A couple things I'll note here is there's still some significant amounts of waste traveling from Massachusetts to facilities in New Hampshire and New York. And that I believe is going by truck, by transfer trailer, to the best of my knowledge. But more and more, we're seeing significant amounts of waste go out of state for export to more distant states, and this is happening by rail haul. On the MSW side, it includes states like Alabama, Michigan, Ohio, South Carolina, and Virginia. On the non-MSW side, the greatest amount has been going to Ohio, although it's starting to shift a little bit to a couple of other states. So it's definitely been a trend that we have a lot of waste going out of state for export, but it's also tending more and more to go by rail. And when we look at some of the solid waste facility development in Massachusetts, some of the recent development has tended to be rail-based transfer stations. Okay, so next two slides are a look at solid waste disposal capacity in Massachusetts, and it's getting more and more concise. This used to be a longer list, but over time, facilities have closed. We've had two smaller combustion facilities in Western Massachusetts close a couple years ago. Those were in Springfield and in Pittsfield. And then we've gradually had landfills in Massachusetts close over time. So this presents what we have right now. There are a couple like small municipal landfills that take their own material, but those amounts are really small and limited to the host community, so those are not shown here. So for all intents and purposes, this is our capacity. So 5 landfills, 5 combustion facilities. At the top, you can see are the landfills and their projected capacity going forward. You can see a couple of zeros on the right-hand side. Several other landfills, are absent expansions will close obviously at some point as well. That's all finite capacity. Municipal waste combustion facilities can theoretically keep on going, though there's wear and tear to those facilities. There's need for repairs over time, replacement of parts. And at some point, those facilities may cease to make sense to operate. We don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. We've talked to those facility operators, and for the foreseeable future, we believe they're continuing to operate. So we've just straight lined their capacity going forward. So what this chart gives us is a total estimated in-state disposal capacity. You can see that's between 3.5 and 4 million tons a year. If you recall the earlier slide, we're disposing of around 6.5 million tons a year of trash overall. So that row, that in-state disposal capacity, you can see that row kind of midway down the chart here. If you can see my cursor, I'm pointing to it now. So what this slide does is it projects total disposal going forward in 2 very simple scenarios. These are not necessarily our expectation of what's going to happen. They're just 2 different planning scenarios. One is that disposal stays flat. So that's the first row at the top. And then the second is if disposal were to be reduced in line with our in-state waste reduction goals, that's what the total disposal would look like. So that's, a forced reduction going down to our goal of 4 million tons by 2030. Over time, that's less and less realistic as that's going to happen. Right now, that would take a 6% reduction a year, and that's just doesn't appear to be in the cards right now. But those are just 2 scenarios really to illustrate, in my mind, the importance of our waste reduction goals. You can see the gap here is about 2 million tons a year right now. And it just shows how important making progress in waste reduction is to meeting our in-state capacity needs. If we were to meet our disposal reduction goals, we could be a very small net exporter of waste. If we don't, we're going to continue to export in the neighborhood of 2.5 million tons a year. And if disposal were to increase further, which is not one of the scenarios shown here, that would obviously, every ton of increased disposal would be another ton of increased net export for disposal, which we certainly do not want to see. So solid waste facility siting in Massachusetts, it's a complex, unpredictable, time-consuming process. It requires a local Board of Health site assignment, which is a determination that the site's appropriate for the proposed facility. There's a lot of deference given to local governments to make that decision. If a site does receive a positive site assignment from a local Board of Health, that a company then comes to Mass DEP for permitting, which typically takes 2 stages, an authorization to construct permit and then an authorization to operate permit. Within our solid waste master plan, we do not have restrictions on landfill capacity. We'll permit what comes to us that has a valid site assignment and that meets our permitting requirements. Although that's challenging in Massachusetts, there's very few sites that are good sites for a new landfill in Massachusetts. We also do have some limitations on waste to energy capacity. For traditional waste to energy technology, we've had a long-standing moratorium on new capacity. That moratorium's been modified in 2 ways in our most recent master plan. One is that we will allow replacement capacity to be permitted. I mentioned we had combustion facilities in Springfield and Pittsfield closed. We could, within our master plan, permit that replacement capacity if it were to come to us. It has not. And then we can also permit more innovative waste to energy technology, something along the lines of gasification, pyrolysis, mechanical biological treatment of waste, things like that. We can permit up to 350,000 tons per year capacity. We've had probably dozens of companies come in and talk to us about that through the years, and we have not had a single permit application come to us thus far. We're interested and willing to entertain it, but nothing's moved forward on a commercial scale. So how can we best affect the capacity? As you know, I've kind of explained here, we have a limited ability to affect disposal capacity. We do not have the ability to overwrite local authority to site capacity. You know, even if we had that ability politically, it probably honestly wouldn't fly. So disposal capacity has been difficult to cite in Massachusetts. The form that capacity has taken over the past decade plus has been either rail-based transfer stations, other transfer stations too, but primarily rail-based, and then limited landfill expansions at existing landfills. And really our best ability to affect waste management capacity and the amount of waste we're generating is by doing everything we can to reduce waste disposal. So when we think about that, we look at our waste characterization data. We do have waste characterization data every 3 years from our waste to energy facilities, super useful data. And that gives us some really obvious targets from a tonnage standpoint. So when we look at our data, and this is from our 2030 master plan, it's changed a little bit since then. I'll highlight a couple ways, but this is when we kind of laid out all of our data in a comprehensive way. So food waste, no surprise, is the #1 material. This has dropped a little bit since then. It's now, we estimate about 960,000 tons of food waste in our trash. So we made some sizable progress reducing food waste, but it's still a tremendous amount. Cardboard, this drives me crazy. We've had a cardboard waste disposal ban since 1990. It's a readily recyclable material with consistent markets. No reason cardboard should be disposed of, but we still dispose of over 200,000 tons a year of cardboard in the trash. Textiles, we've been working very hard to reduce textiles. We believe we're starting to make some progress with our textile waste disposal ban and infrastructure. And then construction and demolition materials taken together, that back then was about 1 million tons combined. Since then, we've actually seen an increase in disposal of construction and demolition materials. A lot of that is wood, which we divide into two separate categories, what's commonly referred to as A wood, which is cleaner wood, and then B wood, which is wood like pressure treated wood, painted, stained wood that has much more limited market outlets. Asphalt shingles, there's a significant amount of asphalt shingles, and then also gypsum wallboard, and we're focused on clean gypsum wallboard in particular. I think we're getting that echo. This is a whole presentation in itself, but I'm going to be real quick here. Happy to talk more about any of this. A key element of what we do in Massachusetts is waste disposal bans. Always trying to implement those in a comprehensive way, connected with other programs. We have, for our construction and demolition debris handling facilities, we have what's called a minimum performance standard, looking to set a performance floor for separation of construction materials at our processing facilities, and then gradually increase that over time. Happy to speak to that further if you like. We have a statewide business assistance program, our Recycling Works in Massachusetts program, that has been a really valuable program, a great program in Massachusetts that's produced a lot of benefit. We have extensive municipal grant programs. We award about 4.5 million tons a year to our municipalities. We are continuing to work to increase recycling market development programs. We are in the midst of a new waste reduction innovations grant. We're in the evaluation period right now. That was a new program we just launched, and we're looking to grow our other recycling market development programs as well. And then we've had an increased emphasis on reduction, reuse, and repair programs, trying to grow that part of our infrastructure. So here are some links. You guys getting that echo?
You seem fine right now, John. Keep going.
Okay. So here are some links to some of the things that I talked about in the slides. Our master plan, data updates, waste characterization data. Also, these are all links here for more information about our programs. Best way to reach me if you have questions after today is by email. I'm happy to talk with anyone more. And I will wrap it up there.
Thanks, John. And apologies to people online if there's an echo. We don't hear it anymore. We have heard it a little bit in the room off and on. I'm not sure how to fix it.
It's coming from your room, Josh.
It is, huh? Shannon's still here. Shannon, your speakers are muted and everything?
Yes.
And your microphones are muted?
Yeah.
No one else is on.
My mic is
It
muted.
says no echo now.
All right.
Okay.
How's that, Stephen? Is there echo now?
Nope, you're good.
All right.
It's when
All
John
right.
was talking, it was coming through your mic as well.
No, because you were sitting close to it, maybe?
Maybe I should leave I have it muted.
Yeah.
Yeah, when a presenter is talking, you should mute probably.
I'm always muted. Both my things are muted, my
Oh.
speakers and my everything. But maybe I'll just
Should be
leave
fine.
so I don't interrupt.
Oh, it's the room, not
It's
your
the room,
computer. Yes,
okay.
yes. So
People are moving around. Stop moving. No, I'm just kidding. This is the challenge with hybrid meetings. It's difficult. My sincere apologies. We'll do our best. John, thanks so much. That was really informative of what Massachusetts has been going through and dealing with. It's really helpful perspective for us. I just want to keep in mind time. I seem to be looking at the clock and we're running short. So I'm going to turn it over to Stephen Young. John, thanks for being here. What we're going to do with these PowerPoints is put them on that website so folks can go back and look at the data. And thanks for putting your contact info. If people have questions, they can connect with you. And John, if you need to go, feel free to. I know your time is very valuable, so appreciate you being here for that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Stephen Young, please take it away with the floods of 23 and 24. Stephen works in the certification section with Dennis Feckert and is our lead when it comes to disasters. Go ahead.
Let me see. Let me get this open. All right, can you all see that? All right, perfect. So as Josh mentioned, my name's Steve Young. I work with the Vermont Solid Waste Program certification section. I am also the state's debris manager when it comes to disasters. So I'm just going to talk a little bit just about the value of in-state disposal. This is just based off of my experience with the 2023 and 2024 flood events. So just some statistics. About in July 2023, during that flood event, we had approximately 25,000 tons of debris that was hauled and disposed of at News VT. The state removed a little over 6,000 tons. And in July 2024, it was too small to track how much tonnage ended up going to the landfill. That event was a lot more infrastructure damage and a lot less damage to like homeowners. And yeah, in 2024, we only removed about 110 tons from the state side. So some disadvantages of out-of-state disposal when there's a disaster. We've found in 2023, during that flood, there was significant damage to rail infrastructure. And I know one of the options after News VT is at capacity is rail or out-of-state disposal. So if there is damage to rail infrastructure, which can and probably will happen again, and it could be stronger impacts in a larger area that is just outside the state of Vermont. It could be throughout all of New England. It can cause some significant problems because it takes time to fix this, and waste and debris needs to move very quickly during these events. We've seen, especially in 2023, debris will just start to stack up, and then it starts to become a public health issue. Trucking out of state is an option as well, but once News VT is at capacity, there will probably be very few, if no landfills any longer in the Northeast. And if trucking were to be an option, it would all be long haul trucking to places like Pennsylvania or Ohio, possibly New York. And that could be difficult depending, as I mentioned, with the scale of a disaster and the availability of long haul truckers. If it's a large disaster, truckers are going to be in high demand. Another thing when it comes to this is waste disposal would likely go up quite a bit due to just the mileage that the waste has to travel and the worker demand. So some benefits of in-state disposal. So debris would be able to move very quickly if we had a disposal facility within the state. It's much easier on our end to be able to work with disposal facilities that we regulate. We have a good working relationship with Casella and then in the past other landfills that we had. There are also less emissions due to lower hauling distance, and the cost would be lower by comparison. So one final thing I'd just like to talk about briefly are categorical disposal facilities. So categorical disposal facilities are facilities that accept waste that is considered inert, such as vegetation, soil, silt, concrete, clean, untreated wood. And we've found in the past couple of years, we have very limited number of these types of facilities in Vermont to dispose of this waste. Even the few that we have, they're hesitant to accept waste from outside of their own municipality just due to the amount of waste that's generated and the amount of space that they have. So last year with the material management plan that we created in the past, it requires all solid waste management entities to have a permitted facility to dispose of these inert materials. That helps for multiple reasons. One, we have multiple facilities where we can bring this waste, so anyone within that district can bring waste there. And in terms of FEMA, the FEMA really looks for cradle to grave tracking. So they like to know where the material is generated and where it's disposed of. And if we have a permitted facility, we can just hand FEMA the permit, and that makes reimbursement a lot easier and quicker. And with that, I think that is all I have. So I will stop sharing. And feel free to reach out to me if anyone has any questions on anything.
All right, Stephen, thank you so much. I hate looking at those old pictures because it brings back bad memories, but I really appreciate you sharing it. In interest of time, I'm going to start shifting to the public comment part. But before I do, I just want to thank Casella for speaking today. Mass DEP, John Fisher, really appreciate the knowledge there. And I wanted to kind of foreshadow our next meeting. We want to talk more about disposal capacity, and we've invited a few companies to come that own disposal facilities in the Northeast region. So we're trying to get those firmed up, but we have tentative agreements from Waste Management to come speak, and EcoMaine, which is a municipal model of both incineration and MRF and landfills. So we're hopeful we can get that nailed down very soon. We have emails out. So basically looking at the very last week of September, that's the one that is half a week of September and half a week of October. We'll get you a date as soon as we can once we confirm those speakers. So it's sort of disposal part one and part two. We've had, I'll be honest, we've had trouble getting waste management companies to respond. We tried Republic, they were non-responsive, and a few others. There's been a lot of consolidation in the industry, so it's just a smaller cast of characters to go to ask for speakers. Let's see. So we'll be asking both of them to kind of talk similarly about challenges and opportunities as they see it in the broader region, because waste is a market, is at least a Northeast market, if not bigger. Obviously, it's even bigger when you hear about Virginia and Ohio. At our third meeting, we've reached out to members of DUMP and town representatives from Coventry and Moortown to talk a little bit about community impacts and potential ways to address those with any future disposal capacity we might have in the state. So we're setting, that's like still in the design phase. But again, as far as public comment goes, in terms of ideas for speakers, you can send those to us. I think we're really open to hearing what your thoughts are on where we might go with this conversation. With that, since this is hybrid, I'm going to try and do like somebody from the room who has a question or comment, and then someone who's online. There is a raise your hand function in Teams. That's the easiest way for us to recognize you. Or you can put your camera on and literally wave, and probably we'll see you. And I'll have Ann and Dennis tell me if they see something, or Stephen or anybody else from the program. Let me start with the room. Yeah, question, comment, feedback.
Everybody wants. I do think we need to secure some more landfill area or something, or incinerator in the state of Vermont. Because it'd be better if it was partway down the state for guys in the southern part, so you'd have less trucking. I currently send a lot of my waste to New York. The tipping fee's low enough to the trucking, it's still cheaper to go out of state with it, which is amazing. And I just wonder how long before some of these other states don't want to take it. That's my biggest fear.
Yeah. Thank you, Craig. Greg, good enough rubbish out of greater Brattleboro region, but you cover a lot. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, Jeff.
Couple of things. One is, it seems like obviously to locate permit a landfill is going to take years and years and years. And there's a lot of opportunity now, although we've done a great job of more reduction programs, which would require ANR's proactiveness in landfill bans, more EPR programs for materials such as mattresses and other things that are taking up a lot of space in landfill, and enforcement, because we already have a lot of this in place, but with the lack of enforcement, there's still an incredible amount of food scraps going to the landfill and other materials. And I think it would be very helpful if the state could take on an analysis of what the cost would look like in the future if we would have to ship waste out of state. And I know that's difficult. But without that kind of information, it's really hard to be planning for this down the pike. And my last comment is I didn't hear Casella's presentation talk about the landfill disposal capacity when that will run out.
So at the current run rate, it's about 20 years.
Thanks.
And Jen, just your affiliation, just for,
Yep, Chittenden Solid Waste District.
what did you say, Shelley? I missed it.
20 years.
20 years.
20
At
years.
the current
Okay.
run rate.
If folks didn't hear, 20 years of estimated capacity. Thank you, Jen. I'm going to go to people online. John has his hand up from Mad River Resource Management District. Go ahead, John.
Thanks, Josh. I guess my first question would be dealing with news. Is there any thought being taken to looking at some of the early disposal capacity that was used in terms of possibly re-engineering some of the site to create some additional space through compaction and other activities?
So I think that's for you guys. Yeah.
John, we're always looking at innovative ways to maximize space and capacity. So I think I'll leave it at that.
And
Go ahead, John.
my,
Yep.
my other question is, looking at the Moortown landfill site as far as a possible option in terms of any disaster disposal capacity. I assume that if we get the folks from Waste Management to come in, that could be a part of the discussion there.
Yeah, we certainly can ask them. Yeah. We can give that heads up to the contact through Dennis that's got a contact with them. So yeah, that's possible.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Moortown is privately owned.
Right.
So they would have to be willing to sell the facility, and it's currently in post-closure.
Right.
So
There would be a lot of
Yeah.
there would be a lot of what ifs there.
It's a major undertaking.
Absolutely. I don't mean to minimize it, but when they're here, they can talk about those challenges. as well.
Absolutely. Mhm.
We did two in the room, so I'm going to go to Polly Jones. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I have a couple questions. There are 3 different sites that have been approved in the past as landfill suitable sites in the state. Is the state considering the development of those sites for future use? Now, I recognize that those sites are smaller and they would never have the capacity that the current landfill has. But the current landfill is sited really poorly, and these other sites are not necessarily as hydrogeologically dangerous to the environment. What is your thought on that?
Thanks, Polly. I'm aware of there is a report that I don't know if we linked it from the webpage, Shannon. It's escaping me if we put it on there, but we had a report in around 2019, part of our biennial report, where we did. This is when Casey Caffin was with the program. Actually, Stevens, our replacement, where we did explore some of the other landfill options in the state. Mostly, really do I call it holdover from the 1990s, the era of Act 78 for people that go back that far. Act 78 really proposed regionalization of landfills and the formation of many of the solid waste districts and alliances like John represents that are here today. Many of those sites, Polly, as you said, are very small. And there are some realities about opening them up that's in that report. My recollection is that the that the economies of scale are such that they wouldn't operate very long. So it's a lot of money to invest for something that doesn't operate very long. There was interviews in there with the solid waste districts that own the green space for these landfills, these sites, and why they haven't moved forward with opening them up. There's also discussion about competition from other disposal capacity. And so I sort of would refer to that report, and I'm happy to maybe present more thoroughly on it at a future meeting. But there's, I guess, suffice to say, there's a lot of reasons, mostly related to economies of scale or competition from other sources, public and private, mostly private, that compete for waste and would make it difficult for those to open up and operate.
Okay,
There's
but
certainly
it does,
considerations to consider.
yeah, it does make sense to regionalize our trash. I mean, just in terms of greenhouse gases and import, taking our trash all the way from southern Vermont up to the Northeast Kingdom just isn't practical. But this is just one of my thoughts. And the landfill where it is really in a dangerous location for the water reservoir, the drinking water reservoir that's Lake Memphremagog. So clearly we have to start moving towards something that's safer for the people. And I do want to request that when you do more of your studying, that you really don't invest too heavily in the idea of incineration. Because at this point in time, I don't believe that we have the technology to burn our trash at a sufficient temperature to prevent certain chemicals from reaching the atmosphere like PFAS. And thank you very much.
Yep, thanks for that comment. We're just at 11:30. I just want to be mindful of time. If people need to go, feel free. We'll stay, at least it doesn't seem to be anybody pushing us out of this room at the moment. We'll stay for another 5 or 10 minutes. Is there any other comment or thought want to share in the room? Anyone? Okay, I'm going to go back to online. Let's see. John, you have your hand up. Henry Coe. Go ahead, Henry. Does he need to be unmuted, Shannon?
Hold on. I see. I'm only able to mute. I can't unmute people. He has to do that himself.
Henry, are you able to unmute yourself?
Been doing it the whole meeting.
I probably muted him so many times it just
Stop. You could also put your thoughts in the chat if you want. Yeah, I know we had difficulty with conflicts of the sound earlier in the meeting. So, all right. Well, feel free, Henry, to type your thought. Oh, there you go.
Yes, I'd like to just say, let's not repeat the solid waste mistakes, management mistakes of the past. Let's locate solid waste sites where they pose no threat to surface or groundwaters or any public drinking water reservoir, as is currently the case. Let's support environmental and social justice by locating future sites with strict safeguards to protect the environment. For example, not adjacent to wetlands, and to minimize impact on economically challenged communities. Let's ensure that only the most safe and effective technologies and practices are required to manage
and comment, unfortunately.
Henry, I'm so sorry. We're getting a ton of feedback from your speaker, and
a cell phone.
it might be due to being on a cell phone. That could possibly be it. I don't know why. We've muted just about everything we could mute, and it still gives a ton of feedback. Feel free to send in your thoughts to Shannon, and we also can make time for you at the next meeting to speak. We all, as I said earlier, we have reached out to Dump for the third meeting to give them time to present on their thoughts. I will go to John Malter, and then we will wrap up. Go ahead, John.
Okay, Josh. Just my other question on neighboring states, especially New Hampshire. Were they approached at all to join in this discussion in terms of some of their capacities and what they're doing?
No, not yet, but we absolutely could. Yeah. If anybody's read in the news, New Hampshire is also having a lot of exploration about in-state capacity, out-of-state waste coming in, new facilities, discussion of moratoriums on landfill. There's a lot of things going on in New Hampshire as well, but good point.
Okay, thank you.
And we do have one more hand raised.
Yeah, let's go to Peggy. Sorry, Peggy, go ahead. You have to unmute yourself though, Peggy. There we go.
Okay. All right, great.
Yep, we
Thank
can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, this discussion about capacity is so complex. There are so many contingent factors, right? Some of which have already been brought up today. And then you just mentioned, I mean, so it's, the desirability of finding a more centralized location in our state would resolve a lot of environmental concerns. And just like siting is going to influence capacity, right? I mean, Polly mentioned those 3 sites that were identified quite a while ago now. One of my questions, and you don't need to answer it, is just what other effort has been made to explore additional sites? Because as I recall from reading that plan from 2019, the landfill report, it indicated that there would be other places in Vermont that may very well qualify as appropriate sites hydrogeologically. And then just the last comment from Mr. Malter about what's going on in New Hampshire or other states like Maine. The question of import of out-of-state waste has a huge impact on Vermont's capacity to dispose of solid waste. And so I really hope that there will be a strong effort that will result in the state taking over the management and ownership of our landfills and solid waste management facilities so that we can legitimately ban the import of out-of-state waste, which right now, with the landfill being owned by a private corporation, they have that interstate commerce clause that allows them to freely import waste from other states. And I think that is really a problem for Vermont that we need to address and make sure at some point in the future is not happening anymore. Thank you.
Thanks, Peggy. I think we'll definitely be talking about all those things you mentioned. I guess I'll just say briefly, even if the state did go through a robust identification process for new landfills in the state, which we're leaning into discussing today, finding more capacity in the state somehow and the value of that, because we do believe that is valuable to us as Vermonters. But even if we were to identify it, it doesn't mean it will be built there. And that's kind of what that 2019 study kind of discusses. We'll make sure we send around that study for folks to skim. That doesn't mean that that's why we're here having the dialogue. It still means it's important. Finding a place for our waste is still important. And as is reduction and diversion and recycling of waste. Just to be, I guess, factual, and I think we're going to hear this from Maine a little bit when we have some Maine representatives in here. Just because the state runs a statewide landfill doesn't prevent other landfills from operating. We have a permit process which allows disposal. We even allow for someone to approach us about an incineration or waste to energy facility if it can meet our permit standards, similar to Massachusetts. And in Maine, they do have both publicly run landfills and privately run ones. The Interstate Commerce Clause of the Constitution does have standards, but just to be factually accurate, at News VT, our reports that we get data from Casella and other facilities shows that we generally take in a pretty small amount of out-of-state waste. The numbers, I think I ran the numbers a little while ago. of the tonnage disposed at news. I think it's less than 20%,
That's
but somewhere around that.
And it's not household or
Right.
commercial
And
trash.
and it's specifically more commonly soils, sludges, things
Right.
like C&D materials, construction demolition waste. But we'll have discussions about all that. The state has quite a few interesting reports with graphs. Our diversion and disposal reports are really interesting to take a look at. Massachusetts shared theirs. We absolutely can share ours. The publication page on our website has got a ton of stuff in there. But let me wrap up and just say thanks for being here. If anybody didn't have input or questions answered and you want to send them to us, we'll consider how we incorporate those into future meetings. Thank you to folks online. Thanks to Anne for putting up some of our publications website in the chat. And thanks to our speakers and to my state colleagues for helping me out today. We're going to wrap up and let you guys all back to your day, get some lunch.